Stay tuned for the Best of the Filmmakers show next, right here on Cablevision Channel 20.
All right, come on, Freddie. Finish up your ice cream. You gotta go pick up your brother at baseball practice.
Dad, is Joey going to be a professional baseball player when he grows up?
He wants to be. It depends on how badly he wants it.
What should I do when I grow up?
What do you want to do?
Something different. Something exciting.
When I was a kid growing up in Brooklyn, my grandparents knew this family. And they had nothing. They came from Italy. They didn't have a house. They didn't have a car. They didn't have any money. They started a business. And they became very successful. And you know why?
Why?
Because they had something more valuable. They had passion, determination, and family.
Who are they? Where are they now?
Well, I'll tell you that another time.
Okay, but what are their names?
Their name? Called the Fontanas.
Now that was heart-wrenching. That's how you feel about your father. What a beautiful relationship. Hey guys, welcome to this week's The Best of the Filmmakers show, starring me, Gerry, and my partner in crime, Joann. We are lucky today because if you happen to notice, we've got people from the Fontanas right here with us. And today's going to be a great episode. We're going to find out about the Fontanas, who came up with what, how did they get there, and more importantly, you're going to get a chance to see two really good clips. So, thanks for joining us, and I'm going to open up to you, Gerry. How are you? And thanks for being on the set of the Fontanas with us.
Fantastic. It's a great time to be doing what we're doing, and holiday time coming up, and thank you for having us on the show and coming to my home and doing it here.
Well, you know, this is a nice set, too, for it. I understand you shoot right here as well, right?
We do. This is
now, whose home would this wind up being on the Fontanas?
This is Charlene and Joe, the oldest brother and his wife, live in this house.
So, Gerry.
Yes.
Tell us about the Fontanas. I mean, how did it get started? Where did the idea come from? And you got the floor.
Okay, the Fontanas, where did it come from? It came from a script idea that I had called Getting Divorced, which in its infancy was a humorous look at getting divorced and how people don't get divorced anymore, they're getting divorced. That was the original concept for a film that I was working on, which was going to be my second project after making The Mark, which was my first feature film. But it didn't seem strong enough. And for many, many years, I wanted to make a story based loosely on my family. So one day it just dawned on me to combine them. And I took the story of the four brothers, which I have three brothers. So there's four of us, my mother and father, Long Island Italian family, third generation. And I went, what if I combine that with the story about getting divorced? And I created this story, which was sort of like an Everybody Loves Raymond meets Parenthood.
Okay.
And then, after I had written I'd written a screenplay, I ended up turning it into an episodic. And that's where the mafia issue came into it. So, taking that Everybody Loves Raymond Parenthood and throwing in a dose of The Sopranos is really where it evolved from. And the story opens very much like, almost like a sitcom. But with each episode of this first season, it gets a little bit darker and a little bit more involved with the mob, but still the goal was to maintain that humor and the relationships and marriage and divorce and family.
Very
and
interesting.
that's really the evolution of it. Finding the right cast.
I want to hear about Valentina's role.
Was a vital component.
Well, I believe in volunteering a lot, and I decided to volunteer for Gerry at the film festival because I have my own show, as you know, the
That's right.
Breakfast Club show. And we
Not to
became-
throw a shameless plug out there, but
Yeah,
the
but
breakfast
that's it.
Just want to point that out.
Yes,
Go ahead.
and Gerry was kind enough to let me help him, and also wrote a book, you know, and my book I used to put out at his shows, and we became fast friends.
That's 2 shameless plugs, guys.
This is true.
Just want to point that out. Go ahead.
And he started to teach me how to be more Italian than I was, I guess. I don't know.
Well, a quick, what the film festival that she speaks of is the New York Long Island Film Festival, which I started in 2019 with Katie Schrader. And we've tried to figure out exactly when it was we first met. And I don't really remember when it was. It was around the time of that film festival.
Yes, when it was smaller.
But
right.
how we first crossed paths, I don't remember. But I always, whenever, you know, being in this business, you look at things differently. You look, when you
Sure.
go someplace, you're always thinking, could this be a location? When you meet somebody,
Oh,
you're
absolutely
thinking, could this person
agreed.
be in my
Right.
next project?
Sure.
And you store it away in the back of your mind,
Totally.
because the mind never stops, as I'm sure it's torturous.
It's for all of us. Anybody
Yeah,
in
me
this
too. I
business
started that.
that, in my opinion, is worth their salt never shuts down.
Right. I always use the analogy of a 4-burner stove. Whatever project I'm working on is the front burner, the big burner.
Right.
And then there's the other burners of varying sizes that have different degrees of projects. And there's always that little burner in the background. That's the infant that you'll be working on 2 or 3 years from now. So,
Well, the nice thing about what happened to me is I never did this. And Gerry was kind enough to give me a shot to help him in other things. And we just got along, and he gave me a shot in 3 films. And this one has been the most encouraging for me at my age. I'm proud of it. I'm 71.
I was like, you thought you were 29.
I'm 71 years old, and
Oh,
I'm
shit.
now doing this.
Good.
Acting and meeting great people, and he taught me a lot. He yelled a little. She showed me what I needed to change, and I listened. But it took a while in the beginning.
you get to the point where you realize what people's strengths and weaknesses
Sure.
are and what they need. It's like, I always say, it's like a child. Sometimes when you raise your voice, then they perk up.
Snap.
So,
Yeah.
you know, me raising my voice is...
He's not the type.
Right. But she was so close sometimes, you know, and there's always going to be somebody to tell you you're crazy, somebody to tell you you're doing something wrong in this business, you know. And when I cast Valentina, there were people that said, well, she's never acted. How are you going to do this? And that first day on set was rough.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
She had the chair next to her with the script on it, and
I
she
was
kept looking
cheating
down like, you
and
know,
looking everywhere.
you know these lines, and I would,
Right.
you know, burn it into her head that you know more than you're realizing. So, you know, at some point I just grabbed that script and I said, nope, deep end of the pool. And she was like, what? And I think the defining moment was the scene we shot in the other room
Yes.
where I told her, I said, you have to get this. We're going to turn off the cameras. You're going to get this. Don't worry. Everybody leave the room and just relax. But you've got to get this because we've got to move on to the next scene. And I gave my cameraman that little wink, which he knows, leave the camera and the sound running.
Right, right.
And she got through the scene perfectly, and she was like, I'm ready to go. And I
Yeah,
said,
and
we
it
don't
was
have
like
to
a
do it
turning
because we
point.
just did it. And the camera was rolling, and she was like, what? And I think that was a big turning point for
Yes,
you
but
because you
yeah.
realized,
But I also think the kind of people that are part of the set, they're so true, real people. The whole family.
right,
We are a little dysfunctional, really, when we were doing this together. And the love and the camaraderie we have, it's amazing. And you picked them, so.
yeah, it's true. The Fontanas cast is very much like a family. And, you know, we've maintained a friendship.
Right.
And that's important. I mean, it's like you always look at that sitcom, like when it's run for 8 or 10 years, and they're like devastated, they're crying
Yes.
because the show is over. And that's because there is a strong connection between this cast. And the brothers get along like brothers. You know, the sisters-in-law, they're very much like sisters-in-laws. And that's important.
Plus, I didn't have
It's the
sons.
confidence
Yeah.
with each other.
Right now, I have 4 sons.
Oh, that's lovely.
So I never had sons, so this is great. And they're so respectful. I have a whole second family, which is really been very good to me.
I like the line in one of the episodes where you're on the phone with your friend and you say, and she's complaining about her sons, and she says, I should have had daughters. She goes, maybe I should have had a Cocker Spaniel. He goes,
So it's been really enlightening for me and growing. And he's taught me so much that I have expectations of myself of someday making a film on my own, with Gerry's help, but of my own story of a little film. So no matter what you do or what age you are, as you do different things, I always tell people, do it because you never know.
Right. It's true.
this industry is changing drastically and daily. Like, you look at the movie industry, like this originally started out as a screenplay. And I wrote it as 4 episodes that made up a screenplay. Because nobody has an attention span anymore. So I was like, well, you know, you go into film festivals, we get a lot of films in our film festivals. We get more shorts than anything. But we do get features, and the question becomes, how do you program features? There's only so many hours in a festival, and you have to pay attention to your audience. Are they sitting through those 2-hour features? Are they getting up? Are they leaving? They love the shorts, but then again, where does the shorts go in furthering the filmmaker career? Are there people out there going to these festivals, seeing your 10 or 12 minute short and saying, well, that's the guy I want to direct the next Hollywood feature film? It's very oversaturated, so you find yourself thinking, how can I make a dent? How can I get noticed? So I said, I'm going to write this screenplay in 4 episodes. And when I did that, that's when I realized this is a series. This is not something that needs to be 4 episodes and done. So we made a drastic change. One of the main characters in the first episode dies, which sets a whole different path in motion. And the one of the log lines I have for the series is death changes everything. And it's true.
And that's true in life, because I myself lost a mate 4 years ago. So I really can identify with everything that's happening that I'm acting on. And I am Italian, so go figure.
It changes the whole dynamic of the family. I mean, this is again, it was based on real life. My family, we lost our father in 1997, and I always say it changed the dynamic of my family. It changed how the brothers interacted with the mother. It changed everybody's responsibility with the mother. It changed how everybody, you know, realized life and death. It happened suddenly, and he was only 69, and it was like, boom, it changes your whole perspective in life. And when that happens in the Fontanas, they also learned that he had secrets about his involvement with the mob that the family never knew. And each episode, another layer of that onion gets peeled back. And it, again, not only death, but then the realization of all of this. So it's a little bit of, I don't know if you remember the series Soap.
Yes.
I heard of it, I never watched it.
Yes,
Yeah, I
back
watched
in
that one.
the 80s,
Yes.
it was, so there's a little soap opera aspect to it, which, you know, it's working. That's, everybody who sees it says, oh my God, it's funny, I can relate to it, I see my family in it, whether they're Italian, Irish, as long as you're like from Long Island and have a family, everybody's that's seen it is like, we really relate
Same
to it.
dynamic. We got 2 clips. And on those 2 clips, why don't you tell us about the first one? We have someone being picked up by 2 fellows in a car, and what goes on in that?
That's the youngest brother. The family owns a pizzeria, and after the father passes, 3 of the brothers want to sell the pizzeria. My character is like, this was our dad's legacy, we can't sell it. We went to a vote, they're like, it's 3-1, we're selling it. And they agreed that if it was a tie, we would keep it. But in this scene, the younger brother is leaving the pizzeria, and when he walks out, he's confronted by 2 gentlemen.
Mr. Ferretti,
Yeah.
you selling the place?
Pretty observant, being able to contact the broker.
Why you selling?
Well, it was my pop's place, but he recently passed. Hey, do I know you?
No, but we know you. Mind if we take a minute of your time?
We? If you're looking to sell something, we aren't buying.
We're not selling anything.
Well, you're not from the IRS. Or a jealous husband, right?
Neither.
Okay, you can go inside. Talk to my brother.
Actually, we'd like to talk to you a little bit more private-like. Just you.
There you go with that we stuff again.
You mind taking a walk?
Sure.
Is this a hybrid?
It's my wife's car.
We're gonna have a little talk.
Hey, guys, I think you have me mistaken for somebody else.
There's no mistake. You're Woody, youngest son of four to Joe and Jacqueline Ferretti.
Okay, you seem to know who I am, but how can I help you?
I would say we're gonna help each other.
That was good.
I
So
loved it.
that was interesting. So now you have another scene which is upcoming, and apparently she is divorced from the gentleman in the scene. And what are the characters' names for that?
That's Freddie. That's my character. He's the main brother. He's the one who does not want to sell the pizzeria. And the woman in the scene is Katrina Michio. She plays my ex-wife. And
she's connected,
yeah. She's connected. And we had a bad divorce. So she shows up at my house unannounced.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, basically, what are you doing here?
Uh-oh.
What she's inquiring about, you'll see in the scene.
Why don't we watch that scene and see where it is now?
You look good, Freddie.
Thank you. You too.
So, did you sell the condo?
No, I still have it. I just keep it for work.
Ah, for work, huh? Ah. Have you spoken to our daughter lately?
All the time.
She hasn't answered my calls in a while.
She's got a lot on her plate. Can I get you something? A glass of wine, some coffee, some rat poison?
No, then I just have to pee. I'm good. Nice.
Look, Angela, what are you doing here?
What, I just can't come by and say hi to the man that used to be my husband? To the man that's the father to our child, my child?
No, actually you can't. I've been down this road with you, Angela. You want something. You need something, or you're just looking for something. So why the hell are you here?
It's about the Fontanas.
What's the show made on? What type of equipment do you guys use?
We try to upgrade every time we move forward. So we film with Canon cameras, and we've upgraded our lenses, we've upgraded our lighting. Every episode improves. So, we edit with Premiere Pro. I do a lot of the editing myself.
Oh, do you? Good. You work on a Mac as well?
I don't, and I'm getting a lot of heat from people telling me that I need to change.
How could he not use a Mac?
I know, I'm not that Apple guy.
Yes, okay.
But to be honest with you, I'm trying to get a little bit more away from the technical aspect of it. Because
Sure.
it can bog you down.
Well, it certainly
creatively.
can. There's no two ways about it, put it that way. You can only put 100% someplace.
Correct.
And if you have to slice it because now you're the producer and the editor, or the cameraman and the director, or the actor and this, that, and the other thing, and yeah, it
Right.
does subtract from the creativity of the being of the individual, that's for sure.
I have brought somebody in who does at the editing stage towards the end, does a lot of the color corrections and things like that. And again, we're expanding our team. But a lot of the focus too here, like I mentioned before about bringing more money into the project, is to hire people. Somebody should be doing every task. And on this independent level, of course, you end up wearing many
100
different hats.
100, easy.
And you can get a lot done. I have to shout out to all the people that have given us locations,
I'll bet.
whether it's restaurants, houses, people in the cast. People in the cast have stepped up, have learned more and more about doing sound and doing, some of the camera work, because you've got multiple cameras going. You may
Sure.
not have somebody manning each one of those cameras.
Right.
So another way that this cast has been so great is so many of them, they feel they're involved in something that's going someplace.
That's going somewhere,
They want to
right.
be involved in it on all aspects.
Before we get into the music part of your life, because I know it's a big part of you as well, I wanted to ask you about those locations. Where do you tend to film?
Well, I knew I was going to film in this house. Obviously, I live here, so I can do whatever I want. When I first shot the film,
You're not allowed to drop by in the middle of the night, gang.
No. We film a lot in Lindenhurst, and I always joke that I want to do for Lindenhurst what Rocky did for Philly.
All right.
I envision people going around Lindenhurst, going to the Fontanas tours someday. We filmed in just about every restaurant, diner, a few different houses,
Very cool.
my mechanic's shop. There's locations that you don't realize exist until you start looking at things through that lens. And I always say Lindenhurst has beaches, it has houses, modern houses, old houses. We've got buildings that have fire escapes that look like Brooklyn, where
Right.
if you wanted to say this was a Brooklyn location, you can. So I have the village behind us. They're very involved with what we're doing. They
Very
love
nice.
what we're doing. We shot at the baseball field here in Lindenhurst. But we've also branched out. We've shot in restaurants in Nassau County, houses in Nassau County. I can't think off the top of my head, but probably about 30 different locations that people have made available to us.
And that's most impressive because to get a location is not an easy task.
Right.
Whether it's the permits that go into it, the insurance behind all of that, and more importantly, the location has to work.
Right.
You know, if you happen to get a building, let's just say, that looks perfect, but the electricity inside is not going to support the lighting and things like that, well, that becomes a sad waste, actually. And it's no easy task, especially you walk into a place and say, wait, the ceilings are too low.
Right.
So that's another issue. High ceilings, how this has to work. It's incredible.
We have one location that I have to mention because it's so cool. When we were coming into the last episodes, we were going to introduce the main mob guy. And I was looking for this specific location that was going to be his lair.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my mechanic about it, and I was in his shop, and I was like, looking around the shop, and I was like, I need a place like this, but bigger. And he says to me, do you know what's behind those doors? And I've been going to my mechanic for 20 years. I never knew that if you went through the back doors, behind it was a warehouse where they build steel girders.
Oh, wow.
And he took me in there, and it was this huge area that it became a big part of the
Soundstage,
Fontanas.
sure.
It was like a soundstage. It had perfect lighting, and it was right there. It's literally a half a mile from my house, and I never knew it was there.
That is incredible.
Oh.
So,
You never know that.
I know music is a big part of your life as well.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your musical endeavors.
Again, interestingly enough, this circles back to my dad as well. I grew up in a musical household, and out of the brothers, I'm pretty much the one who embraced it the most. And my dad was a clarinet sax player, and I took clarinet in school, but I knew it wasn't for me because I'm a vocalist. You can't sing with a clarinet in your mouth. So
A little hard.
yeah. So there was an ongoing debate in my house, Sinatra versus Elvis. My dad was a
God,
big
one of
Sinatra
those.
guy. I grew up, listening to Elvis, which was actually before my time, but I connected with Elvis. And we would talk a lot about music, and it just became a big part of my life. He taught me how to play piano. He was one of those people who could play any instrument, clarinet, sax. One day he picked up a flute, and I'm like, how are you playing the flute? He just could play anything.
I understand.
Yeah, so I grew up with it, and what happened is, singing my whole life, theater, but around 2019, I had the opportunity to form my own band.
Oh, nice.
And I brought in some of the best musicians on Long Island, and I created this band from a play that I had written, and there was a play about a band. And I decided to turn the band from the play into a real band. And I've been living that dream for the
Wow.
past 5 years. This past summer we had 46 gigs. So
That's pretty
it,
cool.
From a little spark of an idea.
What's
and
the
I
name of the band?
The Mutant Kings.
The Mutant Kings. I've heard of you guys. And I did hear of you because I remember thinking, did I mean Teenage Mutant Turtles? No,
Right.
the Mutant Kings. I have heard of you.
Right.
How cool is that?
Thanks. And
It's all over the place.
Yeah, we pretty much are everywhere. And I get a kick out of it because you hatch an idea in your head.
Right.
And you never know where it's going to go.
You
So
don't.
When I see people talk about the Mutant Kings, it kind of makes me chuckle because, again, in the beginning people would say, well, isn't that like the Turtles? But now I always say a brand eventually becomes something you just say. You don't analyze. You know? So the Mutant Kings just becomes a thing now that people say. They don't
That's crazy.
analyze the Mutant Kings. But there is a story behind it. You can check it. We have a website, themutantKings.com. It'll tell you the whole story of where it came from.
Oh, speaking of websites, that's a really important thing. How can we find the Fontanas on a website?
You can see the Fontanas. All the trailers are on YouTube, so if you search for that, you can see that. I'm also on FerrettiFilms.com, which is my personal filmmaking website, which has all the trailers on it.
Great.
And you can also go to the New York Long Island Film Festival, which is nylif.com, NYLIFF.com. It'll tell you all about our now coming into our 6th year of the film festival.
And tell me about NYLIF. I have heard of that, of course. What are the qualifications for film? How do they get them to you? And give us a little bit of background on that so any aspiring filmmaker who's working on a short or whatever their interest lies in, you might be able to guide them to yours or any other filmmaker.
Yeah. Okay, here's my take on the film festivals. To everybody out there, focus on what you're doing. Focus on what you're creating. Focus on your craft. Don't worry so much about the awards. Get into a film festival to show your film to your peers, to other people in the industry, to network with actors, to network with filmmakers, and to learn. We started out as a 2-day festival. This year we went to 4. Next year we're going to 5. We're going to do a lot more in the teaching aspect to bring in some of the filmmakers to focus on workshops, to show everybody and teach everybody what they know, to help elevate everybody's craft. That's the goal. And
the way to do it. So tell us, we've seen some great clips. We've got a great idea where this is coming from. There's a lot of secret twists and turns that I think is really interesting to a lot of people. How can we see the Fontanas?
Well, this is the eternal question. I always love getting this question. You know, in this business, whenever you start making a project, you start making a film, the first thing people say is, when's it going to be in the theaters?
Right.
You know how difficult this
Firsthand,
industry is.
unfortunately.
Right. So right now you can go on FerrettiFilms.com and see the trailers for most of the episodes. We are in the process. We just finished the first season. So we're still fine-tuning the final edits.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking to a lot of different streaming services, a lot of different people. We're trying to bring in some new actors for the next season.
Mm-hmm.
Ernest Mignon joined us for the last 2 episodes. We're talking to Artie Pasquale from The Sopranos. We met with Dan Lauria. So, you know, we're looking to not jump the gun and put it on Amazon where we don't have the money and the resources to promote.
So thanks again to Gerry Ferretti and Valentina Janek for inviting us onto the set of The Fontanas. You can see us every week right here on Long Island Altice Optima Cable, Channel 20, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. I think you should do that, just for me. From the Best of the Filmmakers show and from The Fontanas, we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.
See ya.